so today we're going to talk about the things that you want to look for when you're vetting your first real estate investment. Now, for that, I asked my business partner, George, to come in. We have bought properties around the country, so we have a little bit of experience in this. I really wish somebody had told us what to look for when we first started. We made some really big mistakes, and one of them being the flood insurance. We'll get into that funny story in a little bit, but I think the number one thing you really need to take a look at is what return are you going to be seeking? You need to really know that. If you're going to look for a teens return, you're going to have to have higher risk. If you're looking for, just a wealth preservation, lower. But would you agree?
And absolutely. I think the return that you're trying to accomplish is one of the key things that you should start off with, because you have no other metric then to measure against how the property is performing against your business plan. So you should have the return. But one of the big mistakes I see that a lot of first-time investors do is that they don't put all their expenses into the returns. They look at the purchase price. It may be $1 million, and they're getting $60,000, so they're looking at a 6% return on annually. But what they're not counting is that there's an acquisition cost, whether it's the inspection fees, whether it's the attorney's fees, title, escrow, lender fees. That can all add up and can easily add $50,000, $60,000 on a purchase. Yeah. So that should all be that should all be part of your calculation. It's not just the purchase price. It's
and if you're looking to buy in other states, you need to know what the property taxes are there. Because you see people going, from from California to Texas, and they're seeing that tax bill that's being adjusted or added in Texas. It's pretty substantial.
Yeah. It's about twice as high as California. But the nice part is that Texas and some states, I think more importantly, you want to understand how they do their taxes. If it's reassessed every year, you can have a pretty good indication what it's going to be the next year. That's not going to jump up dramatically. Meanwhile, you have states like California that they do not reassess their property taxes until a sale happens. So if somebody has a really low basis, that property tax can double, triple, I've seen quadruple just from a sale because they've owned the property for a while.
Right. Also, insurance. Make sure you know the cost of insurance. And what happened to us, the story that I hinted to earlier, was we had bought a property and all of a sudden we got a flood insurance bill. And we weren't expecting that. I think it was like $18,000 a year, wasn't
it? Close to that, yeah.
Yeah. And so we closed on the property. Now I got the map got redone, and while we were just as shortly after we bought the property, so that was kind of a shocker. So it's nothing that we did, but it was a good lesson for us to make sure that you want to make sure you have those reserves in place. All right, the number 2 thing to look at, I would say, is rehab costs.
Absolutely. What other costs are going to, after you acquire the property, what can you be expected to put in? Right. Because a lot of times, when you're doing your projections, a property may be under market rent, but to get it to market, you may have to do a lot of rehab or upgrades to the property. That should be part of your calculations. Any kind of capital expenditure that's not a typical recurring monthly expense should be part of your analysis and what you're looking at. So your rehab costs, also very important. A lot of people do not put in the expected
large expectancy of the roof.
Like a roof, roof may have a 20-year life.
All the systems.
But they don't put the reserves in place for that. Or water heater, commercial water heater can cost $20,000, $30,000 or more. Right. If you have a chiller system, expect that it's going to have a little bit higher maintenance than an AC system.
Freaking chiller. My nightmare.
Yes, but they're also, for larger buildings, those are hundreds of thousands of dollars to replace. So make sure that your capital expenditures and your expected rehab costs are part of your analysis.
And make sure, there's one thing that we get excited when we buy our first property. We're going to go out and rehab. We've had the contractor. I always suggest you take your contractor, not just an inspector, but contractor, to take a look at the property before you buy it and really have a budget of what they think it's really going to cost. But make sure you're redoing it, remodeling to the market. You don't need to put in all these super high-end appliances and finishings in a place that does, for a medium income community. You don't want to do that. You're going to spend way too much money. So don't over remodel your properties is one thing that I see out there. One thing that I see out there regularly. All right, and
I think.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, actually, I think that's a great segue to what I think is the third most important thing as well, which is how to add value.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah.
when you are looking
Absolutely.
at remodeling, take a look at what is happening in the area, what is going on. For instance, there's been a big trend with, with a lot of younger people, especially with the delivery food items. People don't really care about a dishwasher as much, but they do care about washer and dryers.
Mm-hmm.
So, there are some systems in place. LG makes a fantastic one that is a self-contained washer and dryer that fits immediately inside of a dishwasher, so you can you can offer that as an upgrade to the person. It costs roughly about $1,400, but you can charge upwards of $50-$75 extra a month.
Mm-hmm.
So that increases the value of your property, increases your returns. The return for the cost is tremendous. So
I think our
something
thing
to
that we
look at.
did with the accent wall was probably
Accent walls are nice.
I mean, what we did is we chose 5 different colors, and we bought big drums of it, and then for an extra $15-$25 a month, we would go in and give one accent wall. So they'd come in to lease the apartment, and we could say to them, hey, if you want to have an accent wall, we'll paint it. You pick one of these 5 colors, we'll add that, $15-$25 to your rent every month. So once the wall is painted, you've got that extra revenue. And I think probably one of another one that was really smart that we did is we had a building that was almost 400 units, and there were no carports on us. We put carports on 25% of the units. What was the cost of them? It was like
$75,750 per carport.
Right.
So we put 100 carports in.
Yeah.
$75,000. We rented them out at $20 a month. That was $240, which is a third the cost. We recouped the full cost right away, but on a cap rate basis, it increased the property value by almost $2 million.
And then we had the first major snowstorm and collapsed half of them. So thank God we had great insurance.
It was also a 100-year storm. I mean, it was a very rare occurrence.
It was something, but that's why, you always kind of have to plan for the unexpected. So make sure you've got your reserves in place. But all right, I think those 3 things are something you really want to take a look at before you really start getting out there and doing your investing. Those are what we did, and it worked well for us. So, all right. Thank you for tuning in today. If you haven't done so, make sure you subscribe, and we'll see you again next week. George, thank you for coming in today.
Thanks for having me here.